All right, good afternoon. Today is May the 8th. May the 8th be with you. Or was it May the 4th be with you? Something like that. I think I'm 4 days late. 2025, and this is the network cabling class, ELEC 1013, Fanshawe College in London, Ontario, Canada, planet Earth, Milky Way galaxy. All right. So let me introduce you to the content that will be following during the next 14 weeks. The course is called Network Cabling. However, I think, in my opinion, it could be called something else. Yeah, I would maybe go towards like more like maybe network infrastructures. And by the time you are done with me, you're going to know what I mean. Mhm. So there are two types of telecommunications as far as technology goes. One is the traditional one with antennas, radios, AM, FM transmission, modulation, propagation, and all that stuff. And then there's that what I unofficially call the modern telecommunication, which is getting later. And this is the type of telecommunication we will be dealing with. All right. So, um, what does it mean, telecommunication? Um, where's that car? Here it comes. This is one way of communicating over a distance because telecommunication is communication over a distance. And I have an imaginary candy for whoever guesses or whoever tells me what movie this thing is from. If you are all awake still.
Is it the Blues Brothers?
The Blues Brothers. Great. Yeah, that's a awesome movie. It's, happy and sad. I'm happy and sad. I'm happy because I um, was able to see that movie when it came out. And I'm sad because it was a long time ago. Makes me feel old. Anyways, uh, communicating over a distance. All right. Why did it go? All right. Communication over a distance. Okay. Telecommunication. All right. You can go home now. You know everything. No, not yet. All right, which means or ways that we're going to be interested in or fall under the category of what we're going to learn and tackle during the next few weeks, 14 weeks. Well, something like an email, radio, television is, fax. Well, used to be really popular in 90s. Now it's kind of other ways are prying the faxing thing out. However, some of the government institutions still will not receive anything else but fax. Some of the doctors' offices as well and pharmacies. POTS. POTS stands for plain old telephone service. And that is the most basic telephone line installation or usage that you can get these days. Still, a lot of it going around. You need to know what's going on with this, and you will know after you go through me. Internet, intranet, VoIP. Intranet is just like internet, but it's confined to like one local area network, something like that. VoIP kind of goes with the telephony because it says voice over IP, which is voice over internet protocol, which is basically telephone or telephony over internet, as opposed to POTS, which would be just like regular physical telephone lines. We'll go through that in some detail. Video conferencing, and here's my favorite: others. Examples. I don't know. Maybe we can think of something. Morse code. Morse code, and yeah, Morse code was actually officially out of the communication, official communication. In sometime 1991 or 92, something like that. The last message, official message, was transmitted, and it was very sentimental day. Now still Morse code is being used. However, it's more on the like, amateur radio kind of a thing, which also is fascinating. All right, keep pressing this button here. Now, when it comes to communication system, essential parts, you will see that kind of a block diagram. And sometimes this block diagram could be a smaller block diagram like that, nested in a bigger block diagram. So those could be like expanded and nested within each other. And with the last slide today, I'll show you what I mean, right? All right. So what is the objective? Is to transmit a signal from source to destination. We have something that's called input transducer, transmitter, link, receiver, and output transducer. What is a transducer? We have an input transducer and an output transducer. Okay. A transducer is a device that converts one form of energy into another. The simplest and the most kind of, common example of a transducer would be a microphone. A microphone will convert the longitudinal waves that make the air vibrate, so air vibrations, into electrical signals, into electrical signal. So there's one form of energy into the other. Now, we have an output transducer. For the most part, we're going to have electrical signals, but we humans are not able to receive electrical signals. Well, sometimes we are able to receive electricity, and when that happens, we kind of jump up into the ceiling, and it's not a very pleasant experience for us. So we can't understand the electrical signal if there's music, for example. But if we connect that output transducer in the form of something's called a loudspeaker, which is basically a speaker, it's a loudspeaker, then that loudspeaker is going to convert the electrical signals into air vibrations again, so we can hear it with our ears. So we have an input transducer, then we go to some sort of a signal processing and transmitting system. So that could be kind of expanded a little bit, but I just didn't want to make it too complicated or too complex. And then you see here's transmitter and here's a receiver. Okay. Now they have to be connected, and we connect them with a link. We can connect them with wires, or the air could also be a link. When you're driving in your car and you have your radio going, well, that radio is receiving, right? It's receiving and signal processing the signal that was sent through the air. So now with the wires, we distinguish, for the most part, copper and fiber. Copper, we popularly call it copper because it's a metal electricity carrier. But typically we just call it copper. So we got copper, fiber, and air. What's fiber? Fiber optics. Okay? And the air is also a link that can carry signals, mostly electromagnetic waves. Okay? All right. So let's just take a look at some transducer. Converts energy from one to another, from one form to another. Examples: a microphone converts sound waves into electrical energy. There you go. Loudspeaker, which is a speaker, but that's the proper name for it, converts electrical the other way, connects electrical energy into sound waves. Another example of a transducer would be antenna, converts electrical energy into electromagnetic waves, and vice versa. So this is definitely a bidirectional device. It can transmit and receive. Now, microphone and a loudspeaker, they also are sort of bidirectional because they can be used as both. Like, for example, microphone, if you connect the microphone into the headphone output of your MP3 player and you put that microphone through you, like right to your ear, you're going to hear the music playing from the microphone. Right? It's going to be very quiet, but it's going to transduce things that way as well. Now, loudspeaker can definitely be used as a microphone. If you remember those school PA systems when you have that little speaker on the wall and the teacher could press the button called the main office, in that box there is a speaker station. And that speaker can be connected through a transformer or sometimes not, but most of the times it's just going to be the same speaker station as the ones that we're going to be connecting next week. Those speaker stations that are hanging on our wall. So, do you ever wonder how is it that the main office can hear what's being spoken in the classroom? And there's no any additional microphones. It's just a one-directional system. So there's a push-to-talk button at the reception. So if the receptionist controls the conversation flow, right? So when that person or he or she presses the push-to-talk button, then they speak and you listen. When they release the button, then the system goes into listening mode. So that speaker, the loudspeaker, 8-inch speaker, is acting as a microphone, picking up all the noise and noise, or you can hear the somebody speaking, and quite sensitive. If you basically call in from the main office, if you call in an empty classroom, you can hear the kind of like a background ambience through that speaker. So quite sensitive. So transducer converts one energy from one form to another. Signal processing now, there's that goes so vast that it would take me even longer than Baba explaining to Forrest Gump how many ways you can cook a shrimp. So signal processing and transmission devices, transmitters, could be applied as a system or could be applied individually, depending on the purpose and the circumstances. Function is input signal processing. Examples: audio mixing console. Yes. It's one of the simple processing things. Well, maybe not as simple. Collects multiple signals and combines them into one single output signal or common groups. Radio transmitter here generates radio frequency, which is applied to the antenna. So generates radio frequency with the intelligence on top of that and shoots it out through the antenna. Whoever picks it up can listen to the radio station, for example, or the radio transmission. Now, wireless access point, WAP, okay? Wireless access point, sometimes it's called AP. This is the Wi-Fi device. We have a lot of them through our school. And the ones that we do have are by Cisco. And you can see that little light there. So just pay attention when you walk into an empty classroom. You might see a green light lit on that WAP here or the AP. That means that nothing is locked onto it. And if you wait maybe 15, 20, 25 seconds, that green light is going to change into blue light because that means that that AP has locked onto your device. If you're on the school's network. So that's how you get your Wi-Fi. So you could lock onto your laptop, your tablet, or your cell phone or something like that. And if the light is flashing, that means there's some kind of an error, or it was just plugged in and it's rebooting then so so that's how this thing is communicating visually with you, and it is a bidirectional device because it transmits and it receives. Because you can you can do a Google search. So it locks onto you're using that AP here to send the messages if you're searching for something, and it's going to talk back to your device to say, yeah, here's the results for your search and things like that. So wireless access points generates wireless digital signal in the computer networking applications, and it is bi-directional. This here is also bi-directional, and so is this actually. Most of the signal processors, most of them work as bi-directional devices. However, sometimes some of them, depending on how they are set up, they can work as just a unidirectional device. All right, transmission link. Well, function. It functions as a signal transfer medium. It's the environment for the signal to travel through. And we, in this course, we're going to distinguish three. As I said before, air, copper, fiber. We will deal with the copper cabling a lot. We will also deal with the fiber optics because you need to know. I set up this course so after completing this, you can actually be confident enough to apply for an entry-level infrastructure technician. And if you want to take it further, talk to me. I've done it for over 30 years, more than 30 years. I pretty much know every little corner when it comes to this kind of business. As we go along, see if something strikes your interest and if it's something that you would see yourself as doing as a career, and money to for money, and to support yourself, then talk to me. I will tell you more about whatever the topic is, and I've done all. That's the stuff that I'm going to go through. I've done it all, and then some, and I have scars to prove it. But so all right, transmission link and the receiver. Output signal processing. So receiver is going to receive the signal and process that and convert that to an output transducer so we can understand that signal, because we don't understand electrical signals, but we understand as humans not radio waves. We understand sound waves. Right? We have something to receive that with, which is our ears. We have something to receive visual signals, which is our eyes. So mostly that's why there's something that's called audio-visual technician. Sometimes, yeah, it can work as that as well. So examples for the receiver would be a radio receiver, audio amplifier, wireless access point, because it works bidirectionally. Boom, right here. This is actually the last slide for today. But we can go on. You know what? Yeah, why not? All right. Anybody can tell me what kind of a system is that? Most likely. We know it's some sort of an audio processing system, but what kind of a purpose, in which environment would this thing be most likely found? Anybody? Is there anybody? There's one dead giveaway. Are you guys awake?
Like music studio?
Music studio, you could have that. in the music studio, but not quite. You're warm, but you're not at the epicenter. So I would say you were 80% right here. Probably because of the mixing board, right? There's one here. There's one word here that is pretty much a dead giveaway of what kind of environment this thing would be found. What kind of a facility? I'll let you suffer for a little bit, trying to think of it, and then if you don't, I'll tell you. Okay, let me kind of give you a hint. See that red dot going? Here's a dead giveaway of where it possibly
Church.
Could. There we go. Yeah. Now, why did I choose a church? Because well, it has most of the elements all together. Like for example, it does have it's an input transducer. These are microphones, podium microphones. In fact, I'm talking to you through one of those, the exactly one, the gooseneck mics. They're pretty good actually. It's a condenser mic. This one is with a switch. I can turn it off, and I can turn it on. Now it does have the choir mics, so they're hanging mics, usually overhead mics. This here is a 70-volt system, which this is going to be our lab. We're probably going to skip the volume controls part, although I'm going to explain this thing to you anyways. But we're going to connect that in our classroom next week through the labs. This is a 70-volt system, and you can find these speakers in pretty much most of the KFC, Burger King, McDonald's, all the fast food places, in the ceiling, pumping music through, like an elevator music, background music. Also, those are being installed in schools, overhead in the hallways, in the ceiling tiles, as part of the big PA system. And it's called 70-volt because it's constant voltage. I'm not going to get into details right now, which I'm going to explain to you later when the time comes, which is next week. And then we're going to connect those. Those usually would be connected in something that's called a crying room in the church. What is a crying room in the church? Well, if there is a service going on, and all of a sudden some baby starts crying and just won't stop. That could be, we're all tolerant of that because we do cherish our young ones. However, if we could remedy that a little bit, then it's also nice. So usually there'll be a separate room behind the glass, so the parent can go with that crying kid and still hear what's going on through these speakers, but the rest of the church doesn't hear the baby crying. So that's one of those things we're going to connect. And there's some more additional processing and whatnot. Like, for example, this whole thing will have the input transducer. Here's the link. Here's the receiving. Here's the receiver and processor. There's some additional processing going on. There's more link to the amplifier, and through the link to the amplifier, there's loudspeaker. So there's the output transducer. So here's input, here's the output. Now there's a system within the system, what I was telling you about before. Like there's another that the whole model that I was showing you is right here. Here's an input transducer right here, the microphone, and it's linked to the belt pack with a wire. So there's a whole system here, but it expands, it grows out because this one here is linked to the receiver through the air, and that is input and output processing and shoots down to the. So this thing is kind of this system here, right? Yeah. Here, that thing is repeated within itself multiple times. Okay. All right, let's go and do the second part. Just quickly open it up. '25 summer. Theory 1A, 1B. Okay. The reason why I want to do this thing is because I may have to go to a funeral tomorrow, so I might have to cancel that second class. I mean your theory class tomorrow, which means you're getting it right now. Okay, so you're not losing anything. All right. So, what is involved in this type of business here? I took those pictures because we had to take pictures. In the lab, the deliverables will include taking pictures. And I kept some of them. Actually, I kept a lot of them. You are going to encounter sometimes things like this. What is this here? This is POTS, plain old telephone service, terminated at the BICS terminal. You're going to terminate a 25 pair cable, which is, you can see one maybe right. Yeah, that looks like a 25 pair cable here. Actually, maybe not. It's just a close up of I don't see 20, but this one here, this big termination block is capable of terminating 25 pairs. We do have 25 pair cable on the roll, and I'm going to explain to you what 25 pair cable is, what the color code is, and you will terminate that 25 pair cable right onto the BICS termination block. BICS stands for BIX. Building cross connect, building intermediate cross connect, something like that. I keep always forgetting what BICS stands for, but once we get there, you'll get the acronym. This is what the equipment rack looks like. It's a wall-mounted equipment rack. And over here, you have something that's called UPS, uninterrupted power supply, and a bunch of things that are just hanging on by the thread because maybe one too many people were mucking with it. Okay. Sometimes you're going to once you come up to a situation like that, you're going to have to make a decision whether to touch it or not. Usually, I would make a phone call to my office of the to dispatcher, and I say, "Look, this thing looks like it's not ideal, and I'm just afraid if I touch something, I'm going to move things, and some other things is going to break or disconnect or stop working. So, are you sure you want me to go in there?" Things like that, right? And once you get the clearance, yeah, I can, go. Sometimes you can talk to the client and you can clean things up before you start working on it. That's okay to say that to a client. Look, this is a mess. I'll have to clean it up before I can actually do anything with it. Right? Now that's kind of like a half serious, but half serious. I really, really encountered that situation, and sometimes you're going to encounter situations like that as well. Now, data. A lot of data is being installed everywhere. You can't imagine a commercial building without plumbing. Okay. You can't imagine a commercial building without electrical system installation. Few years ago, it is not that long, or so I keep telling myself, there was a world without internet. There was a world that computer networks were not as common as they are now, and it was not that long ago. Now, these days, You can't imagine a commercial building without, well, computer network. And that's what the computer network is connected with. Lots and lots of wires. So this is the data part of it. And I put here, like, click to watch. So once you download that, you can click to watch what the LAN room looks like, or cable management type of a thing. Cable management is a huge part of what we do. So what is this here? This, every single one of those wires, these are these are called patch panels. Each an individual cable goes somewhere in the field, and the field is basically the rest of the building. And it's terminated at the location, quote unquote, location, which would be the desktop location, the ceiling location, the other end of it. So they are connected one to one. Cable management is a huge thing. Notice they are using Velcro here because we don't want to use zip ties if we can help when it comes to cable management of data wires, because zip ties can squish those wires too much. And by that, they're going to deform those wires. And when you deform a data wire, you are actually changing its specifications. All right, so this one is a big system. That's a huge system here. I've done some of those, different cities. This type of project, it takes months, maybe even a year to complete. All right, what is it that we're dealing with? Well, data infrastructure, telephony, CCTV, security and surveillance, security alarms, nose call systems, fire systems, fire alarms and things like that. That goes with the fire alarms and maybe sprinkler systems as well, and extinguishing systems. PA system, commercial, simple all call. This is not a test, get out of the building, or this is a test, please ignore the alarm. Things like that. For those type of announcements, every commercial building has to have a PA system, working PA system, public address. PA sound systems, more. Then you go to something like, good old rock and roll type of a stage for entertainment, or churches, arenas. By the way, churches is a pretty good business doing sound systems in churches. Right? That's why also I put that slide there a few slides back. Okay. But that also goes with the conference systems, conference room sound systems, sound reinforcement. We'll talk about that. Theaters, hockey arenas, whatnot, home theater as well, and the theater as well, and the cinema that is called theater as well, and the amphitheater. So every single, if you go to sound, that thing branches out into all kinds of different categories. Access control, what's access control? It's, swipe the card to enter, but this has to be connected. The proximity reader that reads the card or the key fob, it has to be connected to something. And usually it's a complex computerized system. Retail is it's huge, okay? Because quite often you're gonna say, all right, here's a store wired up. You have a week to set the whole thing up. So from anything from installing the cables, running the cables in the ceiling, in the walls, terminating both ends, mounting the devices, configuring the devices, different types of devices in the retail store. What do you want? You have data, you have telephony, you have CCTV, which would be like a security surveillance. Security alarms, well, you don't have much nurse call. Fire, it's a different kind of company who do that. And PA system, intercom, and all that, Retail goes with the acronym that says POS, which stands point of sale. Right? What do you need to be able to do that? Well, you need to know working knowledge. You need to have working knowledge of the system that you got. Where do you get the working knowledge? You get the working knowledge from, doing it, the experience, the actual physical experience. How do you learn? Well, you're not going to be sent all by yourself if you're new on the job to install a whole system by yourself. You'll be with someone who knows more than you. And then that's how you gain the experience. They will be walking you into that kind of stuff. You'll be learning. That's how you learn. And it never stops. Right? Also, working knowledge you get from the distributors, because the distributors, like you don't get equipment directly from the manufacturer. Like if it's an alarm system, like a Paradox or DSC or some alarm system, you don't talk to the factories to get those. They are part of the inventory that is carried by certain distributor, and distributor is a store. It's just like a store, and some of them are huge. That basically sells all the brands of equipment, plus wires, plus jacks, plus connectors, plus whatever else, and that's where you get the equipment. You don't get if you need one or two jacks, yes, you're going to go to a hardware store and get it, right? But if you are doing a bigger project, like 600, 800 runs, 900 jacks, 1,000 jacks, or outlets, then you're going to buy that thing from the distributor. And the distributors gather up different brands of different types of equipment. And, the brands that carry the equipment, what do they want? They want to sell their systems. As a company that produces security alarms, they want to sell the security alarms. But they won't be able to sell the security alarms if people don't know how to work them, if people don't know how to install them, if people don't know how to configure them and all that stuff. So what do? They have company reps that will contact your distributor. The distributor will let you know, and other people who use that distributor, hey, a month from now, so and so from the security, like Paradox, for example, is going to be there, and he's going to present the so and so alarm system, and you sign up, and that's how you learn. And again, it never stops, right? Well, you need to know how to install things, and hopefully I'll give you enough to start you up on that. Setting things up, configuring things, servicing if something goes wrong. That means you have to have working knowledge of what you're dealing with in order to be able to fix something. You have to know what's wrong with it, what is it not doing, and how to address that. So troubleshooting. Design and sales, that's part of it, and office management, project management is huge. I didn't put that here. What's commissioning? Commissioning is, let's say you have installed a complicated VoIP telephone system at some kind of a facility, big office building or whatnot. Okay? Then you have to explain how that phone system works. You need to sit down with the receptionist and say, okay, this is how you transfer the call. This is how you make a conference call. This is how you do this, that, on this particular phone system. And then the office people, they also need to be gathered up and, okay, this is how you make a phone call using this. This is how you use speakerphone. This is how that. It's presenting, commissioning is basically presenting what you have done and training people, giving them kind of like a presenting, okay, here it is, and this is how it works, and here's my business card if you want to, if you have any questions. So that's commissioning. Now it's 10 to 2. I'm going to continue doing this. So once once I'm done, I'm going to post this thing on YouTube. So you can, if you have to go to some other class, please go. But if you want to stay, please stay. I might have to cancel tomorrow's class in person because, yeah, I think I'll have to go to the funeral. But you're getting that content right now, okay? And if you have to go, by all means, go. You'll be able to catch the rest of it. This is an introduction class to the whole course. Yeah, so I'm going to continue with this thing here. Now, this is what working with data looks like. You can make a career out of that. What's involved? a lot of pulling wire, installing wires, um, maybe some pipe bending and installation of the pipes, but sometimes other companies do it for you, depending on the contract. So if you're a data person, the electricians will do. But if you're studying to be electricians with the working of data, so then you can install the pipes yourself. A lot of infrastructure working, and then mounting the equipment. Now, setting up the switches and the smart switches and all that, setting up the whole network, that's the IT part. So that's not what we're going to be talking about. However, in some cases, you are going to have, see, this guy has a laptop here. Now, is this guy an IT guy, or is he infrastructure specialist, right? Or data specialist? Who knows? All I see him quite often. He could be a guy who's setting up the network, or he could be a guy who was sent to replace a piece of the network, maybe a gateway or a switch or a modem or something like that, whatever. And he still has to go in and do a light configuration. And that would be usually while on the phone with the level 2 support, tech support. And level 2 tech support are the people who know the passwords and the structure of this particular system and all that stuff. And sometimes you're going to have to connect with your laptop and they will be telling you what to do. So knowing at least how to use the COM ports, assign COM ports, having a serial interface, because, serial ports would be quite common a few years ago on the laptops. Now everything is USB, so you get something that's called serial port interface. Or sometimes you just plug in right with the Ethernet cable, depending on what it is. And then you might have to know how to get into the command prompt, and maybe use some communication software or not, or whatnot. Like, for example, if sometimes, what was it, Teams, I think it's called, that you can get the other technician to, from remote location, log onto your computer and use your laptop to do that, so you don't have to tell you what buttons to press. And all kinds of other testing equipment that could be involved. So this is basically data. Running wires, installing them, terminating them both ends, cable management, huge. Sometimes installing the devices such as equipment rack or other devices that are ceiling, wall, or desktop mounted. That's the job. You can make a career out of it, and you can actually, if you play your cards right, you can have a pretty good, profitable, and satisfying career. Telephony. What's with the telephony? Okay, I put here VoIP and conventional. Conventional. Here's the POTS telephone, or SL telephone. POTS stands for plain old telephone service. Again, single line. SL stands for single line. Basic telephone understands the regular POTS telephone line that is coming from outside into your building. This one here is a Nortel by Norton Telecom. Those phones were really popular all through 90s and 2000s. Then Norton Telecom went out of business, but you still can see a lot of those phones being installed, and you can buy the refurbished ones. And some companies still, somehow, you can get a new, knockoff of that. I don't know who's making it, but that's because those systems were so darn good. Right? So these two use the outside lines, POTS lines. They're connected with the outside world through the POTS lines, plain old telephone service lines. Now, here's the overall kind of like a single line set. And here is a proprietary telephone set. What's a proprietary? A proprietary telephone set works with a certain system, works with a certain box on the wall. And if you plug in that proprietary telephone into the wall where the POTS line is, it's not going to understand the signal. And this here is not going to understand the signal of the phone system. So we will talk more about that once we get to it. And then there's the VoIP telephone systems, voice over IP, voice over internet protocol, which is basically telephone over internet. and they are sometimes you can combine, like for example, if you have that conventional system installed, but you don't want to use the POTS lines to communicate with the outside world, you can do a little kind of a switcheroo and juggeroo kind of a thing. You can juggle things up a little bit, and you can have the VoIP phone service while still you having the infrastructure still made. So I just call it hybrid. How it's being done, we'll talk about that later in the later lectures. I'll go through some details with you. CCTV, closed circuit television surveillance. Mostly it's a security surveillance. It used to be that CCTV also in like schools, if you have, remember your high school years, a few years back, that would be, it would be high school with the broadcasting class. In the broadcasting class, once a week, they would have a little program like newscast or something like that. And that would be transmitted through the rest of the school through those TV sets that were hanging on from the ceiling or on the walls. So that would also be a closed circuit television system. Now these days, those are being the broadcasting is being done mostly through the Ethernet. So things are being changed. Yes, things have changed a little bit, but CCTV these days mostly means it's security cameras, surveillance cameras. Also, big business to get into. Security alarms. We'll go a little bit more in details of what is involved with security alarms. If this is something, any of that stuff, if it strikes your interest, if it appeals to you, and if it's something that you think that you could enjoy doing and supporting yourself with, making money, talk to me. I've done it all. Well, I shouldn't be saying that, but pretty much close to all. And I know what's involved in all the branches of the business. So if you talk to me and if you're interested in something, I will point you into the right direction. Nurse call systems. What is a nurse call system? Well, here's the bell, call bell, sometimes called, by the patient's bed. Now, this is just like a sales board showing different types of devices that are involved in the with the nurse call system. So here's like a map of the room, and here's the bathroom. So this will be a bathroom station. You pull the cord, and nurse's station is getting notified that you need some help. That usually in hospitals and nursing homes. Okay, corridor lights, annunciating panels, and speaker stations. That can be interfaced with the company issued telephones. Once a nurse comes to work, she or he gets that telephone for that shift. So if somebody calls from some of the rooms, they get a notification on their phone that they're carrying through work. And of course, there's the console, the main console that lives in at the nurse's station. So nurse call systems usually installed in hospitals and nursing homes. Fire alarms. Fire alarms require extra licensing. The fire alarm technician job has changed slightly over the years. I'm talking the last 15, 20 years or something like that. Fire alarm technicians used to install fire alarms. Now they don't, unless you have electrical license. Because the type of installation is just like the electrical license, and now some rules and regulations that are implemented right now require some electrical license to some level to install, run the wiring, do the terminations, and all that stuff. Now, a fire alarm technician can design the system, can go and do the annual inspection, can find faults, correct the faults, and all that stuff. So they can be busy as well, because every system has to be annually inspected, not just going there and Yeah, everything. Yeah, I guess it looks okay. No. It's a complicated process. It takes usually one full day, two people going around triggering all the devices, making sure that all the devices are installed correctly. There's no any kind of breaks or mm, discrepancies, no new problems. Maybe somebody added new room or something like that. So you need to have that. You need to have some sort of device over there. Goes also with the fire extinguishers and the sprinkler systems. The fire technicians can inspect those systems. They can be busy, right? So if this is something that interests you, talk to me. I'll also point you in the right direction. School PA systems. Do you remember those in the main offices? Usually, some small elementary schools will have one of those. Each of the switches will be connecting to, will be assigned to, physically assigned, hardwired into a speaker station at a particular classroom. And here's a speaker push to talk button and all that stuff here. Sometimes you will have a microphone connected to it, or there will be, you could use the built-in microphone right here. And some of the newer ones right now, instead of having all that big equipment sitting on some kind of a countertop, take space, you will have the main console just like that installed instead of all this here. And the school PA systems involves installing classroom stations in the classrooms, and a lot of the speakers in the hallways. Church PA systems. It's a kind of a branch on its own. Pretty good. You can make a pretty good career doing that. If your sound systems on pro audio inclined, talk to me. I can also point you in the right direction. Church systems involve church sound systems for the spoken word and church organs. Both of those, these are two separate worlds mixed into one. Here's a picture of a couple of techies working on setting up a church organ, which probably costs $200,000. And then over here we can see something that's called tone chambers. You didn't see them, did you? A tone chamber is a room that contains either pipes, if it's a pipe organ, or speakers, or both sometimes. Quite often it's just the speakers or loudspeakers pointed at all kinds of directions, because this is an opening and this is just acoustic grill with acoustic cloth. And here's an opening, and this is just acoustic cloth. And here's another opening, and here's another opening. And there's a huge room there, just this size in there. And the speakers are being pointed, all scattered and pointing in all kinds of different directions, so they can simulate the type of sound that would be coming out of the pipe. If it's a church organ, it's an organ pipe, it transmits the sound in 360 degrees. Speakers are directional, but if you have many of them scattered, pointed at all different directions, you get the same effect. And with the technology these days, like high quality samples that would be incorporated into the organ, once the whole thing is installed properly with some of the something that's called antiphonal speakers at the other end, if you play the organ, even an experienced, trained ear will have a hard time to distinguish whether it's a pipe organ or is it speakers and it's electronic organ. So that type of system requires, because the church organ music is written for a lot of echo, reverberation, sustain, and all that stuff. So when you go and clap, just like that in that room, you should hear like just like that, right? That's good for the. But then again, there's a spoken word, and it requires just the opposite, because the more echo, the more reverberation it has. You need to speak slower, and you need to articulate your consonants and vowels so that echo, you can basically overcome that echo. And how do you do it? by speaking slower. And there's certain techniques that, and also there's a certain way that it has to be installed, so you don't lose something that's called the voice intelligibility or speech intelligibility, which means understanding what somebody's saying, and not being muddied out by the echo and reverb of the room. So there's a whole science behind that, installing things. If you're interested in kind of something like that, I've done it for many years. Talk to me, I'll point you in the right direction. And by the way, churches always pay their bills, right? I mean, what would be the point of having a church and, cheating people out of money? So, excuse me. So, plus some of the sound systems cost maybe $20,000, and some of the sound systems cost $200,000, depending on how big the church is and what they want. So yes, it is a legit business, and that's something you can go into. Distributed audio, we were talking about that, and we're going to do just that in the next lab. We're going to connect a whole bunch of speakers. They're called constant voltage distributed audio speakers. You can connect your stereo system by your TV. Just buy it in one of the stores, read the manual, set it up, connect it. Here's the left, here's right, here's front, here's the rear speaker. But this is different type of commercial sound systems for distributed audio to make announcements and play background music and whatnot. This is where you make money, because those usually are installed in big buildings or many small buildings. Like, for example, a certain type of a fast food chain. If you get a contract with them, then you will have a lot of small buildings to install these things with. Okay? Or at. More coming when we get to it, which is next week, basically. And you're actually going to connect those wall speakers that we have on the walls, set up that way. We're going to disconnect everything there and connect it right back up. And then we're going to turn it on and make it work. Continuing with the audio, stage audio. Theaters, good old rock and roll stage. Home theater, it's a little bit different. Hockey arenas, I think I mentioned that, conference rooms and whatnot. Again, there's a whole science behind that as well. And again, I've done it for years. If you want, I'm not just one of those people that do some research and have to teach something. All the stuff I'm teaching you, I've done it. Okay. Access control, that's what it looks like. This is something that's called a proximity reader, and it could be system on its own to give access to rooms, and it can also be interfaced with security alarms. So this is just what you see. It's like tip of the iceberg. The whole thing is happening behind the scenes. There's a whole main panel with all the intelligence there, and you can program things, and you can program people's cards, and you can program permissions and denials and what else to, if you want to let somebody in or keep somebody out of certain types of rooms. So that's a system that has to be installed. Also works with the door strikes, with the automatic openers and things like that. Right? And this is the last slide for today. Retail. Now, retail, that's a whole huge world within the world. What you have to do is install the cash registers, configure them, install VoIP telephone systems, all this ceiling space here, that's millions of feet of wire, usually copper or sometimes fiber optics. The intercom, security alarms. Oh, look, here's a security camera right there. Constant, non-stop business. Right. So, yes, the possibilities are there to get hired, to have a job, and you can be as busy as you want depending on where you are. If you go to like, GTA, like Toronto, Greater Toronto area, oh, if you could be awake 24 hours a day, you could be busy 24 hours a day. If you go somewhere to remote locations like up north or up north, to some northern parts of like Ontario or something like that, yeah, you can also be busy. It's going to be different type of busy. Right? But communications, telephony, intercom, data, can't escape it. It's everywhere right now, which means you can be as busy as you want while working in this system. You can work for somebody else, for a company, doing the field work as a field technician, or you can do project coordination, which is, you have to do one before you can do the other. Usually you have to work in the field a little bit. So if you want to do a project coordination, so you actually know what you're talking about when you're sending people out for the jobs. And that requires some organizational skills as far as organizing the office and doing quotes, sending people out on the jobs, making sure the jobs are done correctly. You make more money than the field technician, but you're also more busy. You have more responsibilities. And that's pretty much it for the introductory kind of lecture. I'm going to cancel tomorrow's class, which is what's tomorrow? Friday. Because as I said, I just have to go to a funeral and I just cannot not go there. All right. So there's going to be no lecture tomorrow, but you get those two lectures. You just got those two lectures right now. Okay. And I'm just going to have to talk to the main office to make sure to make it official and stuff like that. All right. And I think I should be able to come back soon enough for the labs. Okay. So the labs are there. The funeral goes well. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll see you when I see you. Thank you for joining my class and enjoy the rest of the week. And I see you when the time comes. All right. I think I'm going in circles right now. All right. Class is over. Go home.